Let's talk about the perfect competitor's decision in the short run. And remember, in previous modules, we defined the short versus the long run. But to remind you, in the short run, at least one factor of production is fixed, whereas in the long run, all factors of production are variable. So suppose you have a farm. In the short run, you've purchased some farmland. You're trying to figure out what to plant and what quantity to plant. That's our short run decision. In the long run, you'd be deciding if you wanted to be a farmer or not. You could sell your farm and move somewhere else, or you could buy additional farmland to plant more in the next cycle. Right? In the short run, at least one factor of production, such as your farm size or factory size, is fixed. So in the short run, we've already sort of introduced our profit maximizing rule, marginal cost equals marginal revenue. But basically the decision is going to be, or the process is going to be, we figure out where is the point marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. That gives us the optimal quantity. And then we can ask, would the company be better off producing that quantity? Or they could produce a quantity of 0. They could shut down and not produce anything. Basically, they're going to want to do whichever is more profitable. So usually that means producing, but there we will see are some cases where the firm might want to shut down and produce a quantity equals 0 because the market price is just not high enough and they would be producing at a loss. All right, so how do we find profit in the short run? Well, we've got first, we know our profit maximizing rule is marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So we find that intersection. Here's our marginal cost curve. Here's marginal revenue. Where they intersect is our profit maximizing quantity. So in this case, it's 84. All right. And then for the perfect competitors, basically, we're done. In most markets, we'd have to figure out what the price is for a quantity of 84. But for the perfect competitors, we know that already. It's just that whatever the market price is, this horizontal line. So our price is equal to marginal revenue. In this case, it's just over 60. All right, so there's our price. And now we can figure out if this company produces 84 units, what will that cost them? Well, the average total cost of producing 84 units is here, right? Here's 84 units. We take that up. Where does it intersect our cost curve? It's right here, right? So what's our profit? Our profit is the price minus average total cost, how much we'll bring in, minus how much it cost us to produce, times how many units we're producing. All right, so there's our steps, and these steps to calculate profit are going to be the same regardless of market type. So this is not only for perfect competitors, but it is only perfect competitors that have this flat demand curve where demand equals marginal revenue. We'll introduce what happens with the downward sloping demand curve in our future modules. All right, but here the steps are. Once again, let's go back. MC equals MR gives us our optimal quantity. We can figure out what the market price for that quantity is. For the perfect competitors, it's just the market price. And then we can find average total cost of producing that quantity and compare marginal revenue to cost, or rather price to average total cost. In the case of the perfect competitor, price equals marginal revenue, but for other markets, this will not be the case. All right, so the assumption we're making about the perfect competitor is marginal revenue equals price, this flat demand curve. All right, so we compare our market price to average total cost, and that gives us profit. All right, so here's an example of a firm earning a positive economic profit, right? Marginal revenue equals marginal cost at this point, quantity of 84. Here is the marginal revenue. And so this is the price that we're going to get if we sell another unit. This is what it costs us. So there's the profit. All right, what about a loss? Here, MC equals MR at this quantity, 35. Right? The market price is $70. But then we can see that the average total cost of producing 35 units is all the way up here at $80. So in this case, the competitive firm is producing at a loss. And we would want to figure out, is this firm better off producing at a loss or shutting down and producing quantity equals zero? If it produces quantity equals zero, remember it still has to pay the fixed costs, but that still could be better than producing at a per unit loss. Right, so what's the shutdown point? Well, when will the company produce versus not produce? Well, we have this conception of average variable cost. If I produce more and more units, how much additional will that cost me? And as long as the price is above average variable cost, this firm will produce. It will cover its fixed costs. In the homework and the midterm review, I have some numerical examples, so that can help here too. But again, the idea is as long as price is above average variable cost, the firm will produce. If the price is below average variable cost, it will not. It's too expensive to produce, and so it will shut down. So the shutdown point is price equals average variable cost. And once again, we'll do a few numeric examples of this upcoming. All right, what this means is that our supply curve from previous units comes from this model. At a certain part, there's a certain price at which the firm shuts down and produces nothing. Everything over that price, they produce according to MC equals MR. And so our supply curve is just the set of points above the shutdown point where MC equals MR. All right, for the purposes of our class, you don't really have to know much about deriving the supply curve. I just wanted to show you where the supply curve in previous models comes from. If you go on to like an intermediate microeconomics class, then you would talk a lot more about sort of deriving these curves and where they come from. All right, we can also have zero profit. We showed positive profit. We showed negative profit. Normal profit means zero profit. And we'll see some implications in the long run. But here we've got MC equals MR at this point. We compare the market price to the cost of producing this output. They're exactly the same. So this is a case of zero profit. Now, would this company want to shut down or produce? Well, the price here, our marginal revenue equals price. It's higher than the average variable cost. And so we would say that this company actually wants to produce rather than shut down and produce zero. By producing, it's earning zero profit. But if it shuts down, it earns zero total revenue. It sells 0 units at the market price, but it still has some sort of fixed cost to pay. And so its total profit would be 0. Again, we'll do some numerical examples later, which I think help.